In this week's assignments, we learned about new learning. What is new learning? Teaching as an art and science. Learning and education, defining the term. Formal and informal learning. Learning community, curriculum, and pedagogy. Modern education institutions. Models of pedagogy. What kind of science is education? And education is the science of coming to know. And starting off with what is new learning. Basically, new learning was created to figure out what is education as a discipline. So, new learning as a term, as I picked up, is an essential explained by the changes in technology, society, and changes as a result of human movement. It is primarily focused on the changes of the world, although there are two new perspectives in which new learning is examined. One being the impact of digital age and the effect of the newly made technology on learning, and the other being the increase in diversity in human communities. Now, as far as the second lesson, which was teaching as an art and science, this section taught me that teaching as an art and science is explained as the way of being relatable, creative, and persuasive. Meanwhile, teaching as a science is explained by the technique of diagnosing, designing, teaching, and evaluation. There's also another style of teaching explained in this section, and it is teaching as a vocation. This term basically meant teaching like a job, emphasizing the technique of teaching like a profession. For the third lesson, which was learning and education, defining the term, this section explained the differences between education and learning. The video in this section explained how learning is an innate capacity to humans, basically aimed towards the realization that learning is natural and that we encounter learning every day. Education, on the other hand, is more specific type of learning. Institutions are created for the simple fact of increasing our education. All in all, we must be able to learn on our own in order to have the capacity to be educated. For the fourth lesson, formal and informal learning, the video in this section explained how formal learning is learning things with the intention to do so. Meanwhile, informal learning is more of a natural way of learning things, being that this type of learning is one's attention isn't set on learning; it just happens naturally. It's something that just happens that naturally occurs. While formal learning is meant that is something that is meant to be learned. That is something that you are intentionally trying to learn. The fifth lesson, learning community, curriculum, and pedagogy. This section was simply explaining how there are three key aspects of education, and those three key aspects was learning communities, curriculum, and pedagogy. The aspect of learning community is vital in ways that the environment in which you are educated in has a great impact on how well your education will be. The curriculum is a pre-planned is like a pre-planned blueprint and is an aspect of education that is planned ahead of time to best fit the standard of the education provided by the learning community. And the pedagogy is basically explains what teachers do to get their learners to learn. Um, as far as the sixth section this week, modern education institutions. Modern education has come a long way from how we were once educated, with the improvements in the curriculum and the style in which teachers teach. it is amazing in itself. The incorporation of more technology within a classroom have increased education advancements as well. I honestly feel that education today is so much further and is a path that will ultimately lead to fully technological classrooms where students and instructors will be 100% online in a virtual world of learning. The seventh section, which was models of pedagogy, in this section, my observation was that I concluded that pedagogy is a broad word for what instructors do to get their learners to do. A pedagogy has three main types of being, and that three main types that mean dictative pedagogy, authentic pedagogy, and new learning reflexive pedagogy. They are all different approaches of pedagogy, and dictative being more teacher based, um, which is what the teachers, it is more centered around the teacher. Authentic pedagogy, which is used today, is more centered around the children, the learners, and the new learning is a current type of pedagogy that we also use today. The eighth section in this week was what kind of science is education. This section broke down the meaning of science and how many ways it affects education. Science is such a broad aspect of learning, and this video also recognized the type of science that I was unfamiliar with before before seeing the video in this section, and that is life world science. It really intrigued me because one, I never knew anything about it, and two, I experience it every day because life world science is more like the things that you go through every day, the things you learn throughout everyday science. The ninth section, which was education is the science of coming to know. This section discussed how education is complex and that education is the base of almost all professions and practices. The speaker in the video stated that education has its impact on many different methodologies and that they are related to almost every discipline. What I found interesting in this video is how the speaker recognized how education is everywhere, yet it is still highly unvalued in learning today. And my name is Keyshawn Wells, and thank you for your time.